Hi, Richard Tang, CEO of Zen Internet here at Connected Britain with Guy Miller, CEO of MS3. We just signed our partnership deal a couple of days ago, so put it there again, Guy.
Great to be on the network.
Let's hear a little bit about MS3 again, the network and the opportunity, I guess, to have Zen on the network.
Yeah, look, it's a really interesting one for Zen's retail brand. It's even probably more interesting for Zen's channel as well, and all the businesses there. We've got a pretty unique footprint when it comes to UK altnets, in that well over 2/3 of our base now is in what was known as the Hull OLA, the original licensed area, that Openreach don't operate in, and it's a monopoly through KCOM. What that's meant over the years is consumers and businesses haven't had choice. They've been stuck with one provider, whether they like him or not. And that means that for the first time ever, we've come into the region, we've overbuilt, we've created choice. And having ISPs like Zen on the network really changed the telecoms landscape, right? And look, our businesses have a lot in common, right? When we talk about fairness, we talk about doing the right thing. But ultimately, the right thing for consumers is choice. You're doing it through the Fibre Hub, giving more and more options available to your partners and to your end users. And I think adding MS3 to that network just fulfills even more of that promise, and a really exciting region to sell broadband.
Yeah, absolutely. And we can't wait to get into Hull, start selling broadband, because unlike in the rest of the UK and unlike 30 years of Zen's history, we're not competing with BT Retail, Vodafone, TalkTalk, Sky.
Yeah, none of them are there.
None of them are there.
Absolutely.
So
it's going to be really exciting.
Yeah.
You know, on day one, Zen is going to be the largest ISP in terms of numbers selling in the whole area. You know, probably twice KCOM's base you guys have got, right? So actually, not only do you have the scale, not only do you have the brand, not only do you have the 4.5 Trustpilot rating and the huge amounts of reviews and the 20 years of awards you love to talk about, Richard, you know, you are coming to a region where you're going to be the number one ISP in the whole city. And that's hugely exciting for us to have you on board, and hopefully it's exciting for you guys as well.
Super exciting. And like, who would have thought that? Zen has been the biggest provider in a whole city. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
I mean, let's talk about what CityFibre have done. Obviously, CityFibre acquired Connexin pretty recently. We want them to get to market before they get to market, I guess. We've got a great partnership with CityFibre. But I guess there's a point when CityFibre will open up the Connexin network to Zen and to the other partners, Sky, Voda, TT. I mean, what does that look like?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's so difficult to talk about someone else's network, but it's smaller than ours, right? It's maybe 35 to 40% the size of our network. So I think for you guys, fantastic. It's even more homes, even more businesses you can sell to in Hull. You sell on our network, and I'm sure you'll sell on CityFibre's network. So again, reaffirming you as potential number one operator in the long term there. Yeah. Because those other brands aren't selling on our network, you've got it all. And your partners will have it all. So I think that, you know, materially, we love competition, we love the challenge, we love other people coming in. And actually, it's just more and more challenge, right? Yeah. And that's what our industry needs. That's what our industry has, you know, been hugely successful with achieving over the last 5 years, is making that competition, create that free market you talk about. And this is just more of the same, right? We're really excited to have both players challenging the market and giving choice to consumers who haven't had choice in decades.
Yes, I mean, because the free market competition now we've got in the rest of the UK is absolutely brilliant. And it's so brilliant to see the altnet community really giving a challenge to the incumbent. And it feels like Hull are just a little bit behind the curve on what's happening the rest of the UK. Is that how you feel?
It's an interesting one. I think actually, I might disagree. I might actually say that in Hull now, the incumbent is overbuilt probably 75%. Okay. You know, they are suffering material losses that are really challenging for them economically, and they're having to do lots of reviews around that. And actually, I think they're possibly, you know, what BT might be experiencing in 3 or 4 years' time, when those line losses start becoming really material. Yeah. I think we can see some early signs there. You know, Hull is different, right? You know, we built a network. We didn't have the benefit of UK-wide PIA, right? We couldn't just use poles. We couldn't just use ducts. Fortunately, after 3 years of trying, we've now got 3,500 homes that uses KCOM's PIA product, and that's been brilliant. But look, it's late in the journey to get that, unfortunately. We would have loved to have used it from the start. But that also means you've got a distinct competitive advantage, right? We have a network that has no PIA rental costs, and therefore we can be ultra competitive to our partners. We can drive real value into the chain. And I think maybe it's actually what the rest of the UK might look like in the future, is actually that domination is, you know, we talk about BT and Openreach losing their domination. Yeah. It's not lost yet. I think maybe in Hull we might see it happen sooner rather than later. Let's see. A lot of it depends on how well Zen sell on our network, right? Which I'm sure Zen and
Very well.
its partners are going to do tremendously
we'll
well,
do
no
very
doubt.
well. Yeah, that's the plan anyway. Look, one of the comments that you very kindly gave me for my full Fibre Wacky Races 6 presentation just a little bit earlier was that it's very difficult to figure out how the consolidation thing will happen in the UK when the end state of the jigsaw is not clear. And it'd be interesting to get any more colour on your views on consolidation in the altnet world generally, and maybe specifically in MS3's case as well.
Yeah, look, I'll say what I can say, Richard. I'm sure you know on that loaded question. But look, the great consolidation we spoke about, which was how do we trim 50, 60 altnets down to 5 or 10, that is the bit that we're really struggling with, right?
Yep.
And that is not necessarily to do with it doesn't make sense from outside, but once you start having the conversations, they're harder than you think.
Yeah.
And investors have different ways of valuing their businesses. They have different valuation models. They think their businesses are usually worth more than the person they're talking to. And when both sides do that, it's a difficult conversation. And I think what we hoped was possibly 10, 15 acquisitions a year. That isn't happening, right? So maybe what we're going to see now, and kind of this is my point of the jigsaw picture is maybe not as clear as we thought it was, is actually there needs to be some big ones first.
Yeah.
And I think actually that might then spur the industry on. So rather than lots of little consolidation, which has a little bit of value, maybe there needs to be a huge one that kicks it all off. And if I was a betting man, that's what I would see in 2026, is one big one that is transformational and that really puts Openreach and incumbents on the back foot because it wasn't what they were planning, and all of a sudden there is huge credibility in the market.
Yeah.
And I think everything else can fit in. In terms of MS3, we've built a great business. We're really pleased with what we've done. We've not had to borrow huge amounts of money to do it. Our investors have kindly funded it. And as a result, we don't have to rush anything.
Yeah.
We will hold until we get great value for the business and see where it goes to.
Yeah.
But for us, we're in a really fortunate place compared with most, and that's why we can spend most of our time out there signing new, exciting wholesale contracts rather than worrying about where the next 20 million is coming from.
Oh, fantastic. Well, how about that? A big monster consolidation next year. Could that thought turn into reality? Well, we shall wait and see. Guy, thank you very much. Put it there again on
Always
our
a
partnership.
pleasure, Richard.
And thank you very much for watching.